happening right when you're in the air, so that you would be accelerating while facing left. And if you watch a TAS, it does it very well. I can't really do it well here because it's such a specific trick, but the gist of it is that Mario accelerates faster when moving in the direction opposite that of which he's facing. And you might be asking why this matters for the flagpole. Well, if I jump at the top of the flagpole, Mario actually dismounts the pole at a higher point than he would if you grab the bottom. So you can see here, he's actually not even going to touch that block that the flagpole is sitting on. And not only that, the script in the end level script that the game runs after you touch the flagpole has Mario moving to the right to the castle, but dismounting the flagpole facing left. So he is taking advantage of that increased acceleration that I just discussed during this little cutscene. And that actually adds up to, I think, 10 or 11 frames by getting the top of the flagpole versus the bottom. See if you can see this. Watch how high he gets off. He doesn't even touch the block. But if I touch the bottom, he has no airtime whatsoever. He just walks off of the block. And that might seem like such a minor difference, but it turns out that on almost every level, you're going to lose a frame rule if you hit the bottom of the flagpole instead of the top. And in a run this tight, you take let's see how many flagpoles there are. There's 1-1, 4-1, 8-1, 8-2, 8-3. That's 5 flagpoles. So if you times that 5 times 0.35, that's over a second and a half you would lose just from not hitting the top of the pole in a run where almost every frame counts. So the gist of this section is the top is faster, always hit the top. And it's faster because Mario gets some air time when he gets off of the pole. He gets some airtime when he gets off of the pole and takes advantage of that increased acceleration. So that's why it's faster to jump at the top. And you'll want to do it on every level. The next topic is something that kind of annoying in this game, and if you don't understand why it happens, it can be really annoying. Oh, why did the split stop? Next topic is fireworks. So in this game, you might notice that sometimes when you beat a level, there's a little fireworks show. And that's fine in a casual playthrough, but in a speedrun, it's a waste of time. And what controls whether those fireworks come is actually your timer. It's the last digit of your timer. In this case, it's the 9 at this particular time. If that last digit is a 1, a 3, or a 6, you're going to get a fireworks show. And it will have however many fireworks that last digit is. So a 1 yields 1 firework, a 3 yields 3, and a 6 yields 6. And just to show you the fireworks show, you see I got 6 fireworks there. So in general, if you're approaching the flagpole and you think you're going to get a 6 or a 3, you should wait and then take a minor time loss to avoid taking a bigger time loss during the fireworks show. In the case of 1 firework, it's really not beneficial to wait. You should just take it, because if you slow down and avoid, I think it ends up being about a wash. In this particular run, if you're going for all optimal strats on every level, you're really only going to have to deal with fireworks on 1 level, and that's 8-3. That's the only level in the record where you'll see the runner intentionally delay himself at the end to avoid getting fireworks. So it's not a big concern. I mean, if you make a mistake in any level, then fireworks are on the table and you better pay attention. But as you play and get more and more consistent, you'll get a feel for when the fireworks would occur and if you need to avoid them or not. Just to clarify, the last digit is the rightmost digit. So at this particular time of 298, the rightmost digit is the 8. That's the one you need to look at to see if you'll get fireworks or not. You can still get really good times with fireworks. I think 6 fireworks is maybe a 3.5 second loss or something. I think I had a 502 PB at one point that had 3 fireworks, so it's not the end of the world, but you definitely want to avoid them if you can. So the next topic is splitting. You'll want to split accurately in this game, and you'll want to split at the right time. And the reason you want to split accurately is because on levels that have RNG elements, such as 8-3 with the Hammer Bros, an accurate split will tell you what frame rule you're on in relation to your PB, and that will tell you what the Hammer Bros are going to do. And when you know what the Hammer Bros are going to do, they're not very scary at all. The general rule for when to split, you can always split when you, after this screen, this little black screen that shows Mario's life counter that comes up between every level, you can always split on the first beat of the music when the next level loads. Not when the sky appears. Actually, I guess it all happens at the same time, but if you just think of when the first beat appears, that's the easiest way. It's a very good, you have a nice little flicker there where the live screen disappears for a second, and then you're hit with the music. So it actually becomes quite simple to split accurately in this game. And if you've ever watched my stream, you'll see that my splits are always 0.0. And it'll be very obvious. Like if you happen to split a little bit early or late, it'll be a 0.1. But if you're splitting like 0.3 late, that means you actually lost a frame rule or something. So you don't have to worry about being super exact to tell what frame rule you're on. But the problem with this, so you can always split right when the live screen disappears and you hear the music kick in, even after 1-1-1. When the next thing is that little cutscene to 1-2. Because that cutscene follows the same frame rules. So that's a consistent rule across every level in the game, and if you want to do that, you can. The problem with that is that the time that you're splitting, you're actually in control of Mario. And depending on your setup, it might be very difficult to both have Mario run to the right and hit a button at the same time. Fortunately, on almost every level, you can instead split after this little cutscene, right when the screen turns black. So right there, you could split. And that'll work on any level that you beat with a flagpole. In this category, that'll work on all but 2 levels. Level 1-2 is beaten using a warp zone, so there's no flag, and level 4-2 is beaten using a warp zone. And the thing about the warp zones is that when you go down the pipe and the screen turns black, the frame rule hasn't been taken into account at that point. So you can't split when the screen turns black there. You have to instead wait until you gain control in the following level, which would be 4-1 and 8-1. It's not, knowing the frame rule for those levels isn't a big deal, so it's okay if that split isn't so accurate, because there's no real RNG that I'm aware of in 8-1 or 4-1, and 4-1's a simple level. The levels where you'll want to have accurate splits are when you beat 8-2 and possibly 8-1. Those are the levels where you'll want to know the frame rule you're on for the following level. But if you're splitting accurately, you should always see splits that are either even with your PB or plus or minus some multiple of 0.35. So you'll see a lot of 0.3 splits or 0.7 splits or 1.0/1.1 splits and so forth. And as you get more and more consistent at the game, you should rarely be gaining or losing multiple seconds. And then following the splits, the actual timing for the category. Timing begins when you gain control on the first level, not when you press start at this screen. Timing begins right after this black screen disappears. Right when you had split in 4-1 and 8-1. As soon as you gain control of Mario, as soon as that first beat of the music comes in. I think technically if you're in an emulator and trying to identify the exact first frame to count, I think it's the first frame that the 400 appears under time. But until you're getting times like below 505 or so, your live split time should be sufficient. Time ends. I'm not going to actually play to the end, but hopefully all of you know what the end of the game is like. Timing ends upon touching the axe in level 8-4. It doesn't. You don't have to wait for wait for Toad to appear or anything. It's just the frame you touch the axe. You can stop your timer. And again, the exact frame is when Mario touches the axe, all the sprites disappear on the frame after that. So that's what uses the ending frame when all those sprites are gone. So you take that frame minus the frame where time appeared to get the exact frame count from a recording. And that should cover... Oh, I guess, just for curiosity's sake, Blubler discovered a way to get the exact time of any run, regardless of the recording method. And it's not going... For anybody watching this, it's probably not going to be relevant for you until you start getting into the 457, low 458 time range. But basically, the game has become so optimized that you can now just load what's called the human theory task, which is a task containing only strats that a human is capable of doing. You can just load that up in an emulator and wait a couple of frames at the end of it until you wait a couple of frames at the end of the water section in level 8-4